WrestleMania week is very hard when you have wrestling FOMO. Because let me tell you, I watched a lot of fucking wrestling over the past week. I mean, it doesn't help that New Japan started the Champion Carnival around the same time and Stardom's doing their Cinderella tournament. Thanks guys, needed that on my fucking plate. I complain, but I enjoyed myself. I'm sitting here acting like I don't love wrestling. Every time I've covered modern wrestling on this channel, there's been a point. In my New Japan video, I was pointing out how I was falling out of love with the company. In my Noah video, I was talking about how Muto vs. Go completely changed my perception of how I look at matches. Here, my grander point is wrestling's just kind of cool, isn't it? Like, it's just alright. I totally haven't almost cried at wrestling this week. This week has exposed me to a lot of people I wouldn't have known about if I didn't take the plunge into the indie shows of Mania week. And that's exciting. I want to talk about it. So today we're going to sit down and I'm going to tell you my top 30 matches from WrestleMania week. But before we jump into it, a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, I didn't see everything. It was impossible to see everything. The shows on your screen now are shows I just didn't have time for. I'm sure there was good stuff in there, but I had to prioritize. Man, there's so much. And also on this list isn't going to be things like the Champions Carnival or the Cinderella tournament. We're keeping it to stuff that is in some way tied to WrestleMania, the event. So stuff in and around Florida, and then stuff that WWE put out on its network. Okay, no more fucking about. We have a lot of wrestling to go through. Let's do this. This was just a very fun way to kick off the weekend. It was fast-paced, at times it was funny, it was just really fun. The gimmick of a very good professional wrestler and then coming out to a version of Foo Fighters' The Best of You, where he's just going the best. It's incredible. I love him. I adore him. Also, Boomer Hatfield. I've heard his name before. This is my first time seeing him. He moves fucking fast, doesn't he? Pretty sprightly for a Boomer. The match was a tad long, I'm not going to lie to you. At 17 minutes, it's a bit long for an opener, but it was still fun. The fact that it's lucha rules just meant it could keep moving, so it's a good way to pump up the crowd. Also, the fish in the background of these IWTV shows, terrifying. Absolutely fucking terrifying. I had nightmares. Not gonna lie, the whole gimmick of this one of let's find out who's the best technical wrestler in NXT was severely undercut by Kushida wearing jeans. Also, the answer is Timothy Thatcher. Where the fuck was Timothy Thatcher? I don't know. Why aren't you using him? In terms of quality, this kind of falls in the middle of the previous takeover effort of these two. It's not actively bad like Gargano versus Kushida, but it's not actively great like Balor versus Dunn. Lies somewhere in the middle, which is perfectly fine for an opener. Especially love the moments on the ramp, those were really fun. Perfectly fun. Nothing I'd go out my way for, but as part of a wider card, yes, not bad. This made it onto my match of the year thread, and in hindsight, I was just drunk. On the little caption, on the tweet adding it to the thread, it just says, Asuka is so cool, guys. Which, to be fair, she is. She probably gave Rhea her best match since Charlotte last year. Always here for her kicks, always here for her submissions. Honestly, all the praise really just going to Asuka. She's just so fucking cool, guys. For the sake of completion for Rhea's story, I think Rhea versus Charlotte would have been better with Rhea beating Charlotte. Because at this point, what was the fucking point in having the belt on Charlotte? It did nothing. The match is cool. Asuka is cool. Asuka is very cool. Sheamus vs. Murder Idiot was really fun, but I was thinking about it after the match, and I don't think Riddle did anything to make this match good. All the good parts were Sheamus. He hit really hard and brought most of the personality to this match. Because at least in his WWE guys, Riddle is Shaggy from Scooby-Doo if Shaggy from Scooby-Doo was somehow more of a fucking frat boy. Like, imagine if Fred and Shaggy had a baby. It's that. But like the worst possible version of that. It's a bit of a shame that Sheamus got pushed too fast and therefore people got burned out on him too quick, because he's just really good. Having what is easily Riddle's best main roster match probably would be his best overall WWE match if it wasn't for the Thatcher matches. And that's all Sheamus. Put some respect on this man's fucking name. This is a difficult one. While still liking it, I found it to be very overindulgent. I found it to be way too long. The ideas of both pacing and structure just simply didn't exist here. But people who love this match and think it's the best match of the weekend love that it's overindulgent, love that it's long, love that it's unstructured. The qualities that will make or break this match for you are basically the same. It's kind of an oddity. in that sense. Because when a GCW fan talks with such passion about this feud, I'm like, oh god, I love that. I wish I bought in. But I didn't. I mean, it's still on this list. It's a really fun clusterfuck in my opinion, but didn't do anything for me beyond that. One of those times where I don't blame you for loving this match, I just don't. Big Antonio Cesaro out here pulling Seth to his best match in what, 3 years? Seth Rollins has a quality, let's call it a quality, that I don't fucking like. I can't fully invest in his matches. He just feels like a phony right to his core. He's a great athlete on his day. He's an adequate promo. He's been known to have really good matches in the past, but it just doesn't land. Every time I see a Seth Rollins match get a lot of hype, I'm looking at it going, okay, but why? Why is it getting so much hype? I kind of have that here. I mean, people are giving this like 8 out of 10 plus. I'm not. I think it's good. There are issues. I think Cesaro goes for the swing one too many times for it to be effective, and that is a Cesaro problem. That's not to do with Seth. But these two managed to put together a really good match. I've seen people call it a technical masterpiece. It's not a technical masterpiece, but it's a very good, unsubtle Wrestlemania match. Kind of undercard match you should be working in a big arena. Honestly, my biggest problem is the Seth thing. I can just never fully buy into Seth matches. Call me biased, but it never feels like Seth is in a fight. It never feels like he's going towards a win. Last time I fully bought into a Seth match is because he was being thrown around by Brock Lesnar. I'm glad Cesaro got this spot though, because he knocks out of the park nearly every time he gets an opportunity. The fact this genetic freak is never being pushed is actually fucking disgusting. It's such an indictment of how WWE looks at talent. I hate it. A problem with the format of Josh Barnett's Bloodsport is one wrong move and everything kind of falls apart. But that's definitely not the case here. The flow from one move to another, from one submission to another, all felt really good, really grounded. These two managed to plan their game of chess within the 7 minutes they were given. If it had went any shorter or any longer, it probably wouldn't have worked. So there was no filler here, no real wasted movement. It was just a really solid undercard match. Did you ever bash your action figures against each other as a kid? Like you'd have the red Power Ranger going up against Donatello from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Imagine that, but it's two actual people in a bar in Florida. These two mad lads just didn't stop hurting each other for the fucking duration of this match. Kind of taps into something primal within you as a wrestling fan. Kind of easy bomb fest that anyone can get into. This kind of has the same unstructured, over-the-top vibe that RSP vs Nick Gage had later in the night. And what's fucked, I don't think I could tell you what I preferred about this over the main event. Maybe it's the door. It's possibly the door. It was just nuts though, definitely go check this one out. What I will say is commentary fucking ruined it. Commentary was awful on this show. They undercut nearly every major moment. They were cutting jokes when it really wasn't appropriate to be cutting jokes. And it sometimes felt like we weren't paying attention, like we were trying to introduce story beats but just weren't there. For the most part, bad commentary was just something you had to deal with on the collective, so I'm not going to complain about it outside of this entry. But if you decide that you're going to check out the collective, just be warned. Finn Balor's case for Wrestler of the Year is both enhanced and killed in this match. Him having a case to begin with is he made me interested in watching NXT matches, which is really fucking hard. NXT's production is just so gaudy and artificial, but I can't get into it at all. At times it feels like they're just ticking off a checklist, and it leads to really drab, lifeless and boring matches like Kushida versus Johnny Gargano. Whereas Balor hasn't really had that. He's had 3 great matches in my book this year. His matches with Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne have all been worth going out your way to watch. But what's even more impressive here, he's managed to pull something worth seeing out of carrying Cross. I can count the amount of Cross matches that I really liked both before and after joining WWE on one hand. And especially in WWE, he is little more than an entrance. And that still rings true here because the thing that really made me enjoy this match was Finn Balor's individual performance. His limb targeting is great and his bombs put Karrion to shame. He has like a half a foot and 50 pounds on Balor and he still can't throw as convincing a forearm. If it wasn't for another match, this would be the most impressive carry job of the weekend. This weekend is the first time I ever saw Lee Moriarty, and just in a few matches he's made me a fan. This match against Swan was a really fun exhibition. A real fun back and forth between an indie superstar and the current Impact champion. Just by the way, I feel real sorry for anyone having to wrestle in the fucking Florida heat. Someone threw up at Acid Cup, so anyone who can put on a great match in those same conditions really has my respect. Being on such a over-the-top card kind of led to this being a bit buried, which is a shame because I feel like in any other circumstance it could have been a really good coming out party for Moriarty. He's just so technically sound, and then you have Swan, who is a very, very charismatic man. So I would recommend watching this match in isolation rather than watching it as part of the whole card. This had a bit more of a narrative than Moriarty's match with Swan did. I love Rush's quick change of direction here. As you probably already know, Rush is very quick on his feet, and it makes something very compelling when he's in there against someone as technically sound as Moriarty. Honestly, referee issues are the biggest issue here. There was sort of too much confusion and miscommunication on the ref's part to the point where you didn't quite know what the fuck was going on. And honestly, it's super annoying that something that trivial took away from this match. This match was simple shit done very well. Daniel Maccabee is just one of the most talented wrestlers on the fucking planet. And this match incorporated ring rust into its story, which is beautiful. The pacing is good, it escalates really well to the point where a punch is making you pop, which isn't even the last time I'm going to be saying that about Maccabee in this video. Also, Bryan Danielson references. I'm always here for that. If you say I have till 5 in one of your matches, you'll probably get an extra quarter star from me. Am I simple to please? Yes. Do I care? No, I don't. If it really annoys you, make your own fucking video. I hate it when a match just fucks. I have nothing to say when a match just fucks. This was a really fun, brutal little match. I know Wheeler Yuta from Ring of Honor, and I love his work here, so I was really excited to see what he could do outside of our ecosystem. Turns out he can do really well. Who the fuck saw that coming? And then there's Adam Priest, and I believe this was the first time I ever saw him, but he really convinced me. The way Yuta's attack on Priest's shoulder was incorporated going into the finish was really good. That's the one piece of critical analysis you're getting for this entry, because this match just fucks. You can have a great match within the immediate vicinity of Logan Paul, then you're probably two of the best wrestlers of the last decade. This match was nothing overtly special, they kind of just pulled out the greatest hits from their WWE rivalry. One's pulling out moves that we haven't seen in years. Like his suplex neckbreaker thing, great stuff, lovely. This match had nice little callbacks to their previous encounters. It just leads to a very fun little match. And also, I can't stress this enough, they made it a great little match while having Logan Paul involved in the story. Who the fuck is this helping? Who the actual fuck is this going to help? Was anyone on the fence about Wrestlemania and thought, you know what, I wasn't going to watch that Wrestlemania show, but Logan Paul's on it, so now I'm going to watch it. Banks versus Belair, Roman versus Edge versus Bryan, nah, fuck that off, I just want to see Logan Paul. Just baffling, really baffling. The match is still fucking great though. You have the ability to get me invested in your match despite the fact I don't know you or your opponent. You probably are onto something. If you have the ability to make people buy into your match based exclusively on the internal story being told in the match, then you definitely have a future in this business. These two come out looking like an absolute $1,000,000, and then they wrestle like they want to be perceived, which is like stars, so they've done a great job here. Going forward, I am both a fan of Alex Kane and Brian Keith. I look forward to seeing what we do in the future. The addition of flips doesn't seem like something that would enhance a Bloodsport match, but here they managed to incorporate the more spotty elements so naturally that you didn't really mind the break-in format. Bloodsport is sometimes held back as an event because some of it feels samey, so this format change really helped this match to stand out on the night. Also, what helped is the faster pace, because there's one thing you can't describe any Lio Rush match as, is slow. Much like the previous Bloodsport match on this list, this went the perfect amount of time for what it was trying to achieve. This was the purest definition of a carry job. Absolutely nothing Raquel did here added to the match. She was there to catch Shirai while Shirai made her look like $1 million fucking dollars. When it comes to big exposure of Gonzalez, she's been very particularly placed. They put her in tag matches or war games where other more talented people can bump around her and make her look like a star. And if that's how they're going to book her, Io Shirai was the perfect person for her to win the championship from. Shirai worked harder than she has in her entire reign to get Gonzalez over here, jumping off of basically everything, including the set. This match is the concept of a great wrestler versus a broom in action. Io Shirai just had a great match with a broom, and you should thank her. Spotfests are super fucking valid, and it's fucked up that we don't think they are. Is this a laid match where every time you watch it you'll get something new out of it? No. Is this perfectly performed? No. Even as a Spotfest, there's a fair few moments of sloppiness in there. But the sheer ambition to move and not stop is incredible. Some of the flips pulled off are magnificent, and throughout the whole thing I had a massive smile on my face. I'm fully convinced some people in this match can be future superstars. Lucha Libre is definitely my major blind spot when it comes to modern wrestling, so I couldn't tell you what people think about these wrestlers. But personally, I want to see Laredo Kid and Black Taurus get more and more exposure. This is wrestling at its most accessible. Next to anyone can watch it and get some enjoyment out of it. This match slaps. Do you get it? Do you get that funny joke I just made? This match slaps. Two big lads doing big lad things. Not a moment of downtime, just beef on beef. Like, if I have to justify my placement beyond that, I don't think I deserve to be a wrestling critic. I mean, I don't really, do I? I'm just an idiot with a cheap mic and free software. But look, I just really enjoyed this wrestling match. Just please let me have my simple fun. This reminded me a lot of Keith Lee versus Donovan Dijak matches. You know, the athletic big man genre. And it's a great side genre to have when you don't overuse it. That became the problem with Lee versus Dijak. It just happened over and over again to the point where the spots got so repetitive that you just didn't care. It was like Ricochet versus Ospreay. But because this was really the only example of this among these two shows, it really stood out. This match is intense and hard-hitting for the duration. The fast-paced flippy spots don't make you forget how big these men are. It strikes a really good balance between the hard-hitting and the spotty, which is a very hard line to walk, so it's really impressive that they managed it. This match should be put in a museum for how to pace a match. Daniel Maccabee is one of those people who can pace a match to the point where a punch means a lot. And because the punch meant a lot, when these two started going to the top rope and hitting springboards, you're at a fever pitch because they built the whole match towards it. If you read out the moves in this match, you might not be overly impressed, but this match is paced as such that you're completely sucked in by the end. Commentary put over the fact that this is an indie dream match, and it might well be, but I'm not in tune with the American indie scene, so it didn't really land for me on that level. Like, I didn't know a massive amount about either man. I knew nothing about Royal, and I've only seen a handful of matches from Maccabee from his output in WXW last year. So it's doubly impressive to me that these two managed to put on a great match that works from both indie fans and newcomers to the American indies. This is always going to be NXT match of the week. Like, it really had no choice to be. This match was brutal while still moving at a brisk pace. The Forever Big Boot spot was a personal favourite of mine, and Walter completely obliterating the announce table with a chop, also fucking great. Ciampa's fiery display was also amazing. It was a really well defined heel-face dynamic in this match. The ending was a bit weak. It's weird because it's literally a case of you replace the chop with the lariat and it's completely fine. Sounds nitpicky, but that small change would really be the difference between this match and a higher mark. Also, the main issue of this match really isn't its fault, it's NXT's fucking production. The commentary's awful, especially Beth Phoenix. They put emphasis on the wrong thing, which means shit doesn't land as hard as it should. Also, the spot where Walter chops the table is really ruined by the fact that they show the massive "this is fake" line across it. It's ridiculous. If this match was in literally any other promotion, or even if it was on main roster, it would be much better. The fact these two got this grade at all in NXT is testament to how good they both are. Turns out when you remove FinJuice from the stagnant wasteland that is New Japan's tag division, they're really good. Playing outside superstars against two promising indie talents is a perfect role for them. Classic shit with cutting off the ring early and then having a massive clusterfuck finisher fest at the end. This is the biggest FinJuice have felt in literally years, and unless I'm forgetting something, this is definitely their best match. Violence is forever more than pulled their weight here, not at all seeming out of place against the biggest stars. Kevin Koo is without a doubt one of the biggest finds of Mania weekend for me. He's got good charisma, he's great in ring, and he has a really good look. It's one of those cases where if he isn't a massive star at some point, that's on wrestling and not on him. Wrestling's current trend of longer and longer matches is put to shame here. This match goes way under 10 minutes and rules your world for the entire runtime, escalating perfectly within that time, using their surroundings perfectly. In ICW No Holds Barred, there's no ropes, it's chains. And because the match is so compelling, you do forget about this until the chains come into play. There's not a moment of wasted motion. These two looked at the time they had and used it perfectly. Issues with this match aren't really issues with this match. Like, in my opinion, the pacing could be better. Not every move landed, but that doesn't matter. It's just simply one of the top 10 WrestleMania main events of all time. Belair's strength is on another fucking level. And while she overused the hair whip in NXT, she only used it once here, and it's the most brutal hair whip you'll ever see in your fucking life. Not to mention how important this match is. This match marks a first for a lot of people. The fact that it's the first women's singles match to main event WrestleMania, and the fact that it was two women of colour means a lot to a lot of people. None of that praise goes towards WWE. All the praise deserves to be put on Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. They created something special that night in Florida. If you want to simulate this match, here's what you need to do. Get two big bits of beef and throw them at each other. This match is simple. Two big men go head to head. Who crumbles first loses. It's Rock'em Sock'em Robots, but the two robots are an angry Austrian and an angry Northerner. Walter pulling out the big splash makes Rampage seem like a big deal because that's how he won the title. But also the fact that Rampage can go toe to toe with Walter is a massive feather in his cap. But also, it was very obvious that Walter was going to win because he's the only thing really worthwhile in NXT UK. Still, there was the fleeting moment where I thought Rampage was going to have it, and that was a good moment. Kevin Koo and Daniel Garcia are my favourite new finds of Mania weekend. Both men have star written all over them, which was written into the story of this match, the thing being whoever wins will probably get signed soon, which is really sad for a celebration of independent wrestling, I'm not gonna lie. But oh my god, this match was so good. There were moves pulled out in this match I never thought I'd see, and that's mixed in with some great psychology. Kevin Koo would make a habit of trying to initiate respect spots. You know, the spots where you sit down and graciously take your opponent's strike. Then Garcia would make a habit out of reversing them and subverting the spot, which makes for a mix of great heel work whilst also looking like a smart wrestler. Then Koo is a fiery babyface breaking out moves that are making you pop. Great stuff all around. I'm a massive fan of both men coming out of this week. What, this match happened on Bloodsport? Yeah, makes sense. The gushes that these two had were disgusting. There was definitely still technique there. I mean, it's Josh Barnett. It was mostly just a bloodbath spectacle. Tapping into that primal part of you as a wrestling fan who just wants to see two people hurt each other. But they did this while still feeling grounded. This didn't feel over the top at all, which is very hard to achieve. As you kind of saw on Spring Break, it's very easy for what should be a serious match to turn comical very quickly. But this somehow remained grounded. It never felt like it was a cooperation. It always felt like an actual fight. This had all the brutality that you were promised in that death match last month. Easily Jon Moxley's best match of the year so far. Critiquing this match is pointless. Going into a big match triple threat like this, everyone will have their favourites and everyone will be rooting for their favourite like their life depends on it. I watched this match at 4 o'clock in the morning after downing half a bottle of vodka throughout the night, which quite frankly is the best way to watch WrestleMania. The Americans are really missing out there. And this match just pulled me by the throat and made me watch the whole time. I was so invested. I don't even care about the story going on in WWE. I just wanted my childhood hero edge to win. Every near fall had me gasping, half the spots had me hating people. The entrances alone had me close to tears. I mean, as mentioned, I was drunk, but you know what I mean. At the end of this match, I unironically despised Roman Reigns. Like, I get it's fake, but oh my god, fuck him. Don't you win a match like that, you disrespectful son of a bitch. Fuck you. And your fucking brother too, their cousins. And your fucking cousin too. I didn't expect a top 3 match of the year to come out this weekend, but it definitely has. I felt that match in my fucking soul. The best Mania main event since the last Daniel Bryan triple threat. Will this hold up on a rewatch? Maybe not. Check back in December for that one, but I really enjoyed my time with it. I felt like a kid again, and I can't articulate my feelings towards this match better than that. Oof, okay, thank you for watching if you made it this far, 25 minutes in. Jesus Christ, Chris. What were your favourite matches of the week? Did I miss some? I know I did, but oh my god, as I said at the beginning, time. It's too much of a time investment to be that thorough. But again, thank you for watching. If you want to catch me, I'm on Twitter at ChrisLovesPuro. There's a few podcasts you can check me out on. Podmania, where we do random watch-alongs, and then the Stardomcast, where we talk about Stardom. We're about to cover the Cinderella tournament. I'm not fucking happy. We also have a Discord server for that podcast, which I'll also leave down below. If you liked what you saw here, give me a subscribe, and that's about it. I'll see you next time, guys. Goodbye.